Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Star Bazaar and to the final installment of our Hero Strengths and Weaknesses video series in Battlefront 2. Your patience has been deeply appreciated as I've been putting this one together. I've been getting messages asking where this one is, so I'm happy to bring you the strengths and weaknesses of the Blaster villains and Palpatine in Battlefront 2. Let's check it out. If you missed the other 3 videos in this series, I'll briefly explain what this is about. This is a tips and tricks series where we break down each hero and villain in Battlefront 2, give a brief explanation of their capabilities, and wrap it up with a summary of their respective strengths and weaknesses. The goal is to help you play these heroes better than you could before, using the knowledge of how each one is meant to work. I'll have the first 3 videos linked below in the description if you want to learn about the light side heroes and the dark side lightsaber villains, so check those videos out next, but be sure you finish this one first. With that, let's start breaking down the strengths and weaknesses of the dark side blaster villains, starting with Boba Fett. Everyone's favorite bounty hunter in Star Wars is the mobility master in Battlefront 2. His movement speed is unmatched, and it all comes down to his jetpack. As the only villain in Battlefront 2 with a jetpack right now, Boba Fett can get to places that other characters simply can't get to. This lets him shoot from strange and unorthodox angles that really catch his enemies off guard. If he gets caught at one of these vantage points, he can simply fly away and find another one to continue the assault. He's a very difficult villain to get away from if he's targeting you, since his jetpack lets him move faster than anybody else in the game. Couple this with his very high damage output, and Boba Fett is a force to be reckoned with. His EE3's base damage is actually very good for even a hero blaster, and his rocket barrage is one of the strongest abilities in Battlefront 2. His concussion missile, on the other hand, is a little bit lacking, although with the right star cards it can be useful, but his middle ability, For the Hunt, is his trump card. It will reveal enemies on the minimap, remove himself from it, and allow Boba to fly indefinitely while the ability is active. This lets him creep around his targets and take them out before they even realize he's there. It's very powerful. Using this tactic with Rocket Barrage is very good for melting enemy heroes, so I recommend you try it next time you see Han Solo or Leia Organa giving your team trouble. Despite all these strengths, Boba Fett does have weaknesses, like all the other heroes. His low health is probably his biggest weakness, since he can't survive firefights for too long, or if he simply takes too much damage, he can get melted very fast. He's also extremely vulnerable to explosive damage while he's flying with his jetpack. If he's flying and he gets shot with an explosive of any kind, he will get knocked out of the air and be left vulnerable unless he reactivates his jetpack. To counter this, Boba Fett was given the ability to dodge in midair and do an aerial recovery when he gets knocked out with explosives, or force powers. This was just to balance Boba Fett because before he had absolutely no chance against force powers or explosives since he would get knocked out of the air and not be able to fly until he hit the ground again. So, in summary, Boba Fett's strengths are his mobility, he's the fastest hero in terms of movement speed, he's got great damage output, and has an ability to shoot from unorthodox angles. His weaknesses, though, are his very low health pool, which is shared by most of the blaster villains, and the weakness to explosive damage. He's better at dealing with explosives and force powers, but they still are not good for Boba when he's flying around, so watch out for them. Moving on to Boba's buddy BOSSK. BOSSK is a boss. He has very high damage output, the best health recovery in the game, and an incredible jump for a blaster hero. Since he's a Trandoshan, he has better physical capabilities than most human characters, with a better jump and a stronger melee than most. BOSSK's biggest strength, though, is probably the fact that he deals very passive damage. What I mean by that is, all it takes on BOSSK's end is some setup work, and the damage will do itself to his targets. He can lay proximity mines on the field, and anybody who steps in their radius will instantly get blasted by them, or he can throw his Dioxis gas into a choke point and cause severe damage to anybody standing within the gas. His middle ability, Predator Instincts, is also very powerful, letting him see his targets through walls, letting him creep up on them before they realize he's there. This ability also changes his default Relby into a very powerful grenade launcher, causing steady explosive damage with quite a few shots. Throwing Dioxis down a choke point and then following up with these grenades is a powerful tactic. All 3 of BOSSK's abilities deal great damage, and that's to make up for the fact that his default blaster does not have the best damage output. Although it can be charged by zooming in, and it can one-shot enemy infantry if you can aim well. His standout strength, though, is probably the fact that he can recover all of his health. Unlike the other heroes in Battlefront 2, when BOSSK takes damage, he takes no permanent damage. Even if he drops down to 1 health, given enough time to recover, he can get it all back. While this is powerful, it does have a balance in that his health recovery time is very, very slow, the slowest in the game in fact. This is a good balance though. It would be something else if he could recover all of that health quickly. So in summary, BOSSK's strengths are his high and very passive damage, he has the best health recovery in the game, and a pretty evasive jump that can avoid lightsaber attacks well. His weaknesses come down to his low overall health, which again is shared by most of the blaster villains, a weak damage output with his default Relby, and his slow health regeneration. BOSSK is possibly the most balanced blaster hero in Battlefront 2, and some may even make an argument that he's the best blaster hero all around on either side. I'll let you be the judge of that though. Moving on, we have next the main character of Battlefront 2's campaign, IDEN VERSIO. Like the first two blaster villains on this list, IDEN shares a weakness with them with her low health pool. She only has 650, which makes her survivability very low compared to other heroes in the game. On top of this, since she's only human, she also has a relatively slow movement speed, especially when you compare her to the Jedi on the light side. If she gets caught by a lightsaber user, it's very difficult for her to get away from them. Despite this, she can actually handle Jedi quite well, and this comes down to her biggest strength in her versatility. She can do almost everything. She can shoot long-range targets using her pulse cannon, she can stun enemies using her droid Dio, and she can also protect her health using her droid shield. Not to mention, her TL-50 heavy repeater's base damage is very powerful. Couple that with the fact her alternative fire can one-shot enemy infantry, and IDEN is a very powerful villain. She can adapt to almost any situation with just a press of a button, and that makes her very versatile, especially when compared to other heroes and villains who only have a specific playstyle that they need to stick with. IDEN, though, can go short range, long range, and everything else in between. So, in summary, IDEN VERSIO's strengths are her versatility, her high damage output, and the fact that she's relatively good at escape when compared to the other blaster villains, except perhaps Boba Fett, but her weaknesses come down to the low health pool and her relatively slow movement. It's not that she herself is slow, it's just that other heroes are far faster than she is. But if you're looking for a villain that can adapt to almost any situation, IDEN VERSIO is the way to go. Next up, we have the only blaster villain from the sequel trilogy era, Captain Phasma. Phasma has gotten a lot of love in recent times, and she is a far better villain than she used to be. Her staff strikes were once incredibly slow, making it not even worth using in the game, and the fact that it was tied to her health recovery made it very difficult for her to get long kill streaks or even just do well in general. All of that has changed as of recently though. Her blaster's base damage is way better, staff strikes swing faster, and she has a regular health on kill, letting her recover any permanent damage she may have taken. She also has the highest health pool of any of the blaster villains in Battlefront 2, and she can add on to that health pool using her Survivor ability. With the right star card too, Survivor makes Captain Phasma a tank. It decreases any damage coming in at her while the ability is active, and lets her survive situations in much the same way Darth Vader can. Her biggest strength of all, though, is definitely the First Order Sentry Droid, which she can pop up to stun enemy heroes or infantry and lets her shoot them with ease. Before, she was very reliant on this droid to even get one kill, since she wasn't very good by herself. That has changed now. She can do well without the droid, but this is still her biggest strength. Fighting close to the droid and within the range of its shock is the best way to keep Captain Phasma safe, especially against enemy lightsaber heroes who are going to try to target her. She's not as reliant on the droid anymore, since she can in fact brawl with lightsaber heroes using her standard melee or her staff strikes, but if she's caught without the droid, she is very vulnerable. So Captain Phasma's strengths are the powerful droid, which can lock down objectives and tear through enemy heroes. She has tank capabilities with Survivor, and she's very good at all ranges. Even though her blaster is more of a close and mid-range weapon, the fact she can scope in very far and the spread of her blaster is very tight, she can in fact snipe using an automatic weapon, which is pretty crazy. Her weaknesses, though, are the fact that she's vulnerable away from her droid, and again, her relatively slow movement, just like IDEN VERSIO. Again though, it's not that she's slow, it's that everybody else is faster than she is. One thing I have noticed with these blaster villains is that they all share very similar weaknesses. Low health pool, slow movement, except for perhaps Boba Fett. So the variation in the blaster villains really comes down to more their strengths than anything. They're mostly weak to the same stuff, but they all excel in different areas. Before moving on to the last villain in Battlefront 2, I want to say thank you to everybody who's made it this far in the video. I really appreciate your watch time, as this is what puts the video through YouTube's algorithm and shows it to other people, so thanks. If you're liking the video so far, do me a favor and give it a thumbs up, and also drop a comment below letting me know how you would feel about me continuing this series, but for the infantry and reinforcements instead. So far it's all been about the heroes, but a few of you have suggested I do this for the infantry and reinforcements as well, so drop a comment and let me know what you think about that. We're gonna wrap up this video though, and who better to save for last than the big bad himself, Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine is very unique on this list because he actually does not use a blaster, he shoots lightning. For this reason though, he did not deserve a spot on the lightsaber villains list, so he's rounding off this one. He does play similar to lightsaber heroes though, due to the fact that he has stamina, so we're gonna take that into consideration when we weigh his strengths and weaknesses. Palpatine's biggest strength is the fact that he's really good at tackling groups. He can handle groups of infantry better than most other heroes or villains in Battlefront 2, and that's because his lightning can jump from one target to another, and that's just his base standard lightning. His chain lightning ability is basically that times 10. People were complaining that Anakin Skywalker can one-shot an entire room of infantry using heroic might, but let's not forget that Palpatine has been doing this exact same thing since day one. He can clear out rooms of infantry by himself and pave the way for his teammates to go take the objective, and if he sees too much heat in that process, he has a phenomenal dodge to get him to safety. The dodge covers a huge distance and can really separate him from danger. This is to make up for his biggest weakness, and that's his lack of a defense. Palpatine cannot block, which makes him very vulnerable against lightsaber attacks and force powers. His dodge is the only reliable defense that he has, so it has to be used wisely, since you only get 2 at a time. He's also extremely vulnerable to Obi-Wan Kenobi's restrictive mind trick. Since it stops Palpatine from activating his own abilities and from dodging, his only hope when he gets hit by the mind trick is to run away. Otherwise, he's going to eat lightsaber shots and most likely die very quickly. Despite this though, Palpatine is very good at handling enemy heroes, and even Obi-Wan Kenobi, despite the weakness to the mind trick, and this comes down to the fact that Palpatine is the stunlock master. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I do not like the stunlocks in Battlefront 2, but Palpatine is actually very good at using stunlocks in a strategic way. The Emperor has a unique ability where he can shoot his standard lightning while performing other actions. He can shoot lightning while dodging, and he can shoot lightning while jumping or activating other abilities. This is why, if you're facing a Palpatine as a lightsaber hero and you're blocking his lightning, you'll find that he's able to shoot you through your block. Kind of. It's not that he shoots you through your block, it's that his abilities Chain Lightning or Electrocute will momentarily stagger you while you're blocking, and his regular lightning will sneak through during that stagger period. This is what lets him take on enemy lightsaber heroes. He can pop up Dark Aura to slow their movement and cause steady damage, and he can stunlock them using Chain Lightning and Electrocute to drop their block and shoot them with regular lightning. Combine this with the fact that he can dance around his targets using his powerful dodge, and Palpatine is a tricky customer to take care of. So, in summary, Palpatine's biggest strength is the fact that he can always be shooting his lightning and make contact, he can hit several enemies at once with a great dodge, and he's the stunlock master of Battlefront 2. His weaknesses, though, are the fact that he has an awful defense, no block, and if he gets hit by Obi-Wan's mind trick, it's pretty much lights out unless you can run away. And with that brings this series to a close. This episode ran a little long, but thank you all so much to everybody who's followed it from the very first video we did. I hope you guys enjoyed the series, and once again, if you guys want to see more videos like this for the base infantry classes and for the reinforcements, let me know in a comment below and I'll get started on those right away. That's going to do it from me though. I appreciate you all stopping by the bazaar. I'll see you all out on the battlefront. Peace.